My friend Thor has built a 700 horsepower strong Mercedes 190e that he uses for racing, and this is how he did it. Today we take a closer look on what type of engine swap he did and what other parts he used to the drivetrain and the chassis to handle all the power. And yes, those 700 horsepowers, that's at the wheels. We will also discuss what he would have done differently if he started the project from scratch today. If you are subscribed to the channel, you already know that this video was coming, since I put up a temporary video a couple of weeks ago. Apart from us breaking into Thor's car in that video, I also asked you guys which parts you were most interested in, and that is what we will focus on today. This is a longer video, but I can almost guarantee that you will find it interesting, and hopefully you will save both time and money if you plan to build something similar yourself in the future. If you enjoy this kind of more comprehensive videos, please give it a thumbs up to beat the almighty YouTube algorithm, and subscribe if you want to ask your own questions for future videos. But enough about that, it's time to take a closer look on the car. We'll start in the rear and work our way forward. Redo?
Yes.
Okay. So if we start from the back here, and this the body kit.
The body kit. I think it's an AMG copy from Lithuania, I think. I don't think they actually say never was a model with this exact package, but I think it looks good. I had a Rieger Evo 3 package before that got smashed. So this is the latest model. I think this is the nicest one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the nice retro plastic look, for looking like the 80s. And yeah, and the matching front spoiler also, and the side skirts actually.
How was the fitment on it? Usually when you buy something that is not stock, it might be a
Pretty
bit
bad, yeah.
pretty bad and need some kind of rework.
I don't actually know, because the wheel housings and everything, it's not stock anymore. So the fitment here isn't stock, the fitment on the side skirt isn't stock. So for me it was not a problem.
Okay.
Probably if you buy it for a stock Mercedes, it's not that good. But for this, it's no problem.
Okay.
But I actually took away the back bumper, welded a new, just a square tube, and lifting for the jack to change the rear tires as quick as possible.
Yeah, and it's also this one is very easy to move around the car now,
yeah,
in the workshop,
just
since the diff is welded.
No, it's not welded.
It's not?
No, it's actually we'll get to that.
Yeah.
It's not welded. It's LSD. And this is actually, I welded this last moment before Godspeed. I remember I don't have a tow hook, so yeah, it's crooked and it's ugly, but it worked.
It does the job.
Yes.
Yeah.
In here it's just welded square tubing. Doesn't weigh very much, but strong enough.
Yep. And then the next thing that just pops into my eyes when I look under here is this one.
This is from originally some kind of excavator machine, like an oil cooler, but now it's used for water intercooling. For the up front on the engine there is a water intercooler, water to air intercooler. So the water gets warm from the boost charge, and then it travels back here to this pump, and it's cooled in this big aluminum radiator, or charge cooler, whatever you want to call it, with two fans on top. And I actually didn't have to run the fans even. Only the water mass was enough to keep it cold.
Okay.
So the intake charge temp, I think, is like 30 degrees Celsius. Very, very efficient. I was surprised how good that worked.
Are you running the tubes under the car or inside or
the car.
inside the car?
Just big 1-inch garden hose for the moment. to try it out.
But was this the first season with this one?
The second season.
Second season, okay.
Last year I just had a small radiator from like a Chinese shitty car. But this is much better, much stronger, much more water in it. I think it's like 5 liters in here.
Okay.
And then we have just to make the center of gravity as low as possible. That's why the battery is here. I would even want it even lower, but then it's kind of clear as issues, and I can't get under with the the lift.
Okay, yeah. So now it's lower, but it's still not the lowest part of the car.
No,
So
but it is as low as you can and behind the rear diff, so it offsets some of the weight from the engine.
Yeah.
Well, this is what also the reason this is here, as far back as it can go.
So the reason is mostly for weight, or is it for getting
Better airflow for the.
better airflow and also to fit the V8, or does it fit anyways?
It was fitting, but I had a big intercooler in front, and that made the heat from the engine, from the radiator, not to come out that good. The airflow through the radiator was too restricted by the intercooler, I thought. But turns out now I moved the intercooler here, back here, so there is nothing in the front. Still heats, overheats. So there's something. The problem is within the engine, probably. Something makes the engine overheat, because we will see later that there is an electronic fuel water pump and everything, and it still overheats. So something is wrong with the design, probably.
It might also be if you're drifting that you're going sideways, so you're not getting a full frontal air on the intercooler, right?
Full frontal noodle. Yeah, that might be it also, but it doesn't matter if I'm going in a straight line. If in high boost, it still overheats.
Okay.
So if I go on 0.5, 0.6 bars, it's fine. It goes up to 100 degrees and stays around there. But if I go more like 1 bar, 1.2 bar, like I have driven it, then it overheats.
Okay. So now it feels like it's almost easier to point out stock parts than to name everything that is changed, because I know that this has gone through several generations of updates and different types of drivetrain.
I actually had the stock. This Mercedes was a 2.6 straight 6 engine. So the differential in this was the middle one, not the small one, not the big one, but the middle one. So that actually took quite some abuse, like 600 horsepower, and I broke it 4 or 5 times.
Was it that one that was in it when we used the M50 engine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is just the last 2 years.
Last 2 years, okay.
So on the M50 engine and the first generation V8 setup used the stock diff, but when I blew the diff like the 5th time, I'm like, no, that doesn't work anymore. And actually the whole rear subframe was cracked in multiple places, 5 or 6 places. So it was kind of loose and stuff.
So where is this from now?
This diff is from, it's fitted on some BMW M engine, M cars, the E46 M3, the E90 M3, and the E60 M5 and the same generation M6. So the diff is from, I think this one was from M5, and then the flangers, output flangers, is from an E46 M3, and then the drive shafts, they are from E90 M3. They're actually different lengths. So the diff isn't centered in the car. It's not centered in the BMW either. It's moved 4 centimeters, I think, to the left.
Do you know why they've done that? Is it for weight distribution or?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Probably for some kind of fitment issues. So the shafts are, one of the shafts fit in the car in stock form, but the other one was too long, like 2 centimeters too long. That's why I have this custom-made trailing arms or connecting arms, whatever you call it, to make the whole track width of the car 20 millimeters per side wider. And then the stock part from the Mercedes is actually the hubs, still the stock hubs. And to fit the BMW drive shafts, I've put in BMW E34 325 hubs in this is called the spindle, I think. So the hubs are pressed in. So the bearing is changed for the BMW bearing, and then the hub is pressed in to that bearing. So the brakes and everything is BMW, but the extra spindle is still Mercedes, and the drive shafts are BMW. So they actually fit together if you take the right parts.
Okay.
Very strange, but the outer diameter of the bearing is the same for some reason. And then you have homemade lower control arms. And this is not actually a very good setup because, as you can see, to make these upside down E36 BMW coilovers fit, I had to put them offset from the center. I would like to have them in the center of this because now it's a bending force in here.
Yes.
So this bushing and this bushing gets a lot of abuse. This one and also this one. But I have driven it like this 2 years now, and it still works, but it's not optimal. But to make it better, there is not a very good choice here because it will interfere with the drive shaft.
Yeah, it gets too close to the drive shaft.
So the other solution is to straighten up, or no, actually to tilt the coilover backwards to give more clearance. But then I have to rework the whole body, basically the whole structural. So I don't know. Maybe I will move these fittings out and these to make it center again. It is in the stock Mercedes form. This is also not perfectly aligned. Actually, it's a little bit offset.
Okay.
So yeah, this is our K-Sport racing coilovers for E36 BMW. The upside down ones, because otherwise the coil is on top, or actually next to the coilover. It's not actually coilover, then it's just standard spring. But I don't want the spring here. The stock spring in the Mercedes this is the seat for it.
There's the seat, yes.
Yeah. And this I have had very long on this car actually. This was before I changed the diff. So this has been working more than 2 years, 5 years actually. And then it's BMW E46 330 brakes. Yeah, both brakes and discs are E36. No, E46.
E46,
yeah.
okay.
E46. And then the diff is actually the M competition, or whatever you call it, M variable diff. So it's actually LSD, limited slip. What's lamel called?
I don't know. I will put in a text on it.
Yeah, it's a disc anti-slip, not gearing, but this is some kind of hydraulically driven. So it's actually like an open diff until you put torque on it. It's not like a stock LSD that has some kind of brake or anti-slip all the time. So this is like driving an open diff until you put power on it, and then it locks up. It works perfectly actually.
And then it looks up right away, or is it at a certain torque?
No, it's actually linear. The more power you put in it, the more it locks.
Okay.
So if you let off the throttle, you actually get the feeling that it's open again. Very strange, but I like it. It works very good. That's the best part of this car, I think. Most expensive also, maybe. And then this is the stock cross member or subframe, whatever you call it, but it's strengthened everywhere. Lots of extra material on top. And then
just to reinforce it.
I think this is neoprene or polyurethane bushings, just to keep it steady.
Yeah. Did you make them yourself, or is there somewhere to buy these?
I think you might be able to buy them, but I made them myself. But these are stock, pretty much.
Because it feels like tuning parts for Mercedes 190s. It's not like tuning parts for a BMW E36 or something like that.
Maybe you can buy Powerflex, but that's probably it. But I'm not sure. I don't think there are any actually. Nobody wants to take this diff way anyway. It's very difficult. So that's that, and this is more strengthening stuff and anti-dropping.
This is not original, right?
Nope, it's strengthening.
Yeah.
I would actually like to make a whole new rear subframe, but too much work. So it's basically just cut open and then some brackets to fit the diff is welded in here.
And then we have all the uniballs.
Yeah, this was actually a kit I bought, or I actually got it very cheap from a guy. That was called Aloha Motorsport, I think, Swedish guy.
Here in Sweden?
Yeah. Okay. So he made this kit with uniballs, but I don't like uniballs. Even if you have good lubricant on them, they die. Especially if you do drifting, I think the tires.
It's a lot of shaking and jumping, and
especially if you go on the curbs and stuff, they just get ripped out. So the clearance goes sloppy, and the wheels go Now they are actually pretty stable, but yeah, they are not cheap. They're like 50 euros each, and there are 20 of them. So it's not fun. So I think I will actually make new ends with rubber bushings instead.
Okay.
To make it last a little bit longer. Or maybe put some rubber caps on them. Some people say they last much longer than, and I might try that.
Okay, because the idea there is that you get some sand or gravel or something in there, or dust.
Yeah, and they wear out extremely quickly. You would think they would last at least a few miles, but it's a matter of hours.
Okay.
Then they're dead. And then we have this.
I was just about to ask about that one.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
What do I think it is? I have no idea.
It's actually the fuel surge tank.
Okay.
Yeah, in Sweden we call it catch tank, but that's not correct. But it's a surge tank. So this is the fuel line from the stock fuel tank. So this is just free flow or gravity fed. And in here are two Bosch fuel pumps, 044s I think. Very cheap, Chinese scrap. They have held up in 5 years.
Yeah, and they'll still work for 700 horsepower or
and
something
this
like
is
that.
just ugly heat shielding because the exhaust is so close. But it works very good because this feeds the fuel pump. The fuel pump feeds the engine, and then the return goes back up in the main tank. The main tank you can see it's actually in the 190.
Let's see if I can.
Or the W201.
Maybe I need another flashlight.
Yeah. But that's a stock tank. All 190s have that stock fuel tank. Yeah, that's the one, the ribbed one.
Yeah.
That's a very easy thing on this car. They have built-in catch tank, or what do we call it? Vad fan heter det? Bränsle, fuel cell.
Yeah, built-in fuel cell.
Yeah, basically a fuel cell. Internal tank. They say that's why they have so good traction, because they have all that weight straight above the differential, or that's why they say. But I think
it might be.
I think it's this all these links. The geometry of this is very good. I actually tried it without the damper in. When you move the wheel, it moves almost perfectly perpendicular.
Okay.
Very little camber change.
Yeah, because I have to say that the traction on this car is
insanely good.
It's much more than you can than you think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly built for drifting, but we have tried it on some street racing and some track days, and it
works.
It just sticks.
Yeah.
And
it's one of the better gripping back or rear ends, I think. Maybe some Japanese cars are better, but this is very, very good. So I will never change this setup for that reason.
Yeah. And then we also have the only two mufflers on the whole car.
I used to have the exhaust just end right here, back in the ground. Very nice sound, but it was too loud inside the car.
Was it also too loud for track days? Because I know that some track days are a bit...
It wasn't. Not even on Gotland in Norway, because since it was basically just a 90-degree pipe straight to the ground, and they usually do the measuring a few feet behind the car. So
that's the secret.
The sound was
that's the secret
in the car, but you could even hear it on track because it wasn't that loud.
No.
Even though it was straight pipes all the way. Nobody ever asked if I had any mufflers, but I did. I think I used to have a muffler here, actually, a small one. Yeah, wait. These were actually mounted here before, so they were a muffler and then open.
Okay.
But they were still very, very loud inside the car.
And this one is only for stabilization, or to get to keep the weight and the vibrations and the stability.
Yeah, that's just to keep the pipes together.
Yeah.
And everything is naked because I haven't had time to paint it, but it will be painted sometime. And
someday.
Yes. And there will be a lid here or a floor, because now it kicks a lot of dirt up in here, and even this sucks up a lot of dirt inside the car.
But I mean, you have driven quite a couple of track days, and this one has kept up. Never a broken tire or anything that kicks up into it.
This is for like a excavator, so this is strong stuff. It's not like a Chinese crappy oil cooler or something. This is a really big, hefty one.
Yeah, and also some heat covering.
Yeah, just to keep
it cool from the exhausts.
Yeah, that hasn't been a problem actually. Then we have this nice cheap Biltema exhaust. Biltema in Sweden is the race shop.
Yeah, I don't know what you could compare it to in the States or in the rest of Europe.
I don't basically Target in America.
Target or like
AutoZone or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Cheapest car parts you can find. The cheapest. And then we have, I think, the prop shaft. I don't actually remember what it's from, but I remember I had to change the input flange because this was a huge one, because this was an M5 diff. So I think the input flange is from an M3. I think that's from an E90 M3. And I think the rear prop shaft also is E90 M3. It has been cut off here. So the little snout or the spline part was cut off and then machined, and then stuck in and then welded again. So the whole prop shaft is actually BMW, but just shortened a bit.
Okay. Now it's starting to get a bit oily also.
Yes, from multiple engine explosions.
But that keeps the rust away.
Yes,
like
this is very nice. It's rust protection. So this is basically where the car has been modified mostly. It's been cut here, and the whole firewall has been cut out and built with tubular, what do you call it? Square tubing and aluminum. Mm-hmm. And then this is actually what do you call it? A temporary fix to just try if the gearbox would fit. And then it has worked, so I haven't fixed it. You can even see that these bolts aren't even fully bolted in.
Yeah, but it still works.
Yeah, it doesn't take that much torque. It just keeps the gearbox from falling down, basically.
Yeah. So did you need to cut it out to fit the gearbox,
yes,
or was it for something else?
No, the actual tunnel on the Mercedes is very small gearbox. I think the gearbox stops like here. So the tunnel is basically just here, and then it's very, very thin here. So the whole tunnel is cut out, huge part of it. And this gearbox is from BMW 535. It's called G6S53DZ, the biggest 6-gear diesel gearbox they have, I think.
Have you broken any of them?
Nope.
It just keeps going?
Yep.
Okay.
This is it's very hard to shift gears, and sometimes between second and fourth gear there is a ghost gear. There is nothing there.
Nothing there.
You think you're going to put in fourth gear, but you get something in between second and fourth, and there is no gear there. So I think the shifting forks are broken in it.
Okay.
But if you take your time, it works. And all the synchros are very bad.
Yeah. But you got the torque, so you don't need that fast shifting.
I just put it to fourth gears and then go.
Just drive all day.
Yeah.
And there we have the
Speed sensor.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't use that anymore, but I think it's loose. It was used. I will put that back actually someday because I want to have traction control from it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have big old downpipe.
Downpipe. Yeah. So here we can see the exhaust manifold going up.
Yep.
Since it's a V8, you have one exhaust manifold on each side.
Yep.
And it goes up and goes together into the turbo.
Yep. That's basically just the stock manifolds. This is the stock manifold. And instead of the stock flange, I just cut it off and welded on V-band flanges. And then it's 60 millimeter thick wall tubing that is coated. And this pipe is actually exactly the same length. That's why it sounds like an S-car. Everybody asks why it sounds so strange, or why it sounds like a sporty V8, not an American V8. And that's the reason. The exhaust pipes are exactly the same length. And one pipe is feeding the one port on the turbo, and the other pipe feeding the other port.
Okay.
Top. And then we have the part everybody's asking about, what the fuck this is. The Mercedes actually has a welded front cross member, so that's been cut out completely, and I actually just saved the what do you call this, the beams,
The beams,
yeah,
yes.
main beams, and cut out the original cross member, and then welded these two big steel square tubings to the stock body, and then inside here are nuts to bolt these BMW, I think this is E30, this cross member, to make a front end oil pan fit this car. They actually had front end before also, but the old steering geometry and everything on this car is so bulky. It has a huge, it's not, this is a rack and pinion, but I don't know what they call the other stuff. The old, like a big gearbox with an arm and double, yeah, it's no good. Very bad for drifting, and the tires on the stock Mercedes, they don't turn that much, and they lay down. They rise up on the edge.
Okay.
Very strange to drift with. Doesn't work at all. So this is all BMW. BMW E30 frame cross member. E34. Oh, E46. I mean E46 steering rack. And then we have E36 arms, control arms, but lengthened to make it drifting. This is from T-Parts in Sweden. And then we have the stock holders for the E36 rear bushing. I just cut that off and did this ugly weld to make it fit on the frame. And inside the frame there is a pipe welded in here so I can squeeze it, or a bushing basically. Otherwise you can just crush it with a bolt.
Yep.
And this is the stock steering rack basically that's left there. And then also in the front there's E36 coilovers, E36 spindles, and E46 brakes, 330 brakes.
And all that fit together, or did you need some welding or cutting?
Nope, that's bolt on everything. That's so nice when you take a cross member like this. This is the only part that needs careful measuring to make this fit all the dimension. And when this is fit, you can just mount the control arms, and these will actually you can actually rotate these to make the wheel go forward and go backward. But if I would do this again, I think I would put the whole cross member a little bit forward and then do an engine swap with the oil pan in the rear instead. Hopefully the new engine will fit, because that's a very, very small oil pan.
Why would you want to do that? Have that one in front and the oil pan in the back?
Yeah, I believe that when you have the oil pan in the front and you do drifting with lots of G-forces, you always have at least one G going back. I think all the oil stays up here, like in a pool, and in the heads. So I think the engine dies from oil starvation. There is no oil left in the pan if you do a big drift. So if you have it in the rear, the G-forces keep the oil better in the rear. We notice that most cars with rear mount oil pans hold up better. They rarely have a bearing failure.
Okay.
But this has, all the failures on this have been bearing 4 times.
Yeah, this is the 4th engine.
Yeah, no, it's a 5th, because the AMG engine that was busted when I bought it. That was broken in the
Yeah, that's
cylinder
true.
sleeve. But this is the 4th or 5th, but I think it's the 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here we see the new inspection hole also.
Yeah, this is actually the first one that actually detonated. Thoroughly dead.
I mean, that hole shouldn't be there.
And we can see here also, this is the clutch. That is a stock flywheel from the Mercedes with 60-2 trigger. And then it's a custom flywheel, very, very small. This is the flywheel. If you can see it, that small part.
Yep.
That's a 7.25 inch clutch. They are very common in racing, 7.25 or 7.1 inch or whatever it's called. So this is a 2-disc rally clutch for 1100 Newton meters or something. Never ever failed. It's very good. I think it's a quartermaster, but they do it in tilt on, and AP and all kinds of brands. And then we have the trigger here because this engine doesn't have a trigger stock actually.
Okay.
Oh, no, wait, it does, but it's on top and that's interfering with the exhaust pipe. But this actually stock engine didn't have any trigger here. Or this gearbox engine.
Okay.
So this is just...
It's also nice to have it there just for it's easier to work with if you need to adjust anything.
Hall sensor, cherry sensor, so I can turn it inside, in and out to fine tune it. Fit.
And there you also have a cooler of some kind.
Yeah, that's for power steering cooling.
Yep.
For drifting, when you do a lot of drifting, you heat the oil and then you lose power steering. It's not very fun.
No.
I tried it on Gatbil in Ångsten one time, and the power steering just failed, and the pump just sheared off. And when you have, if you go in like 200 kilometers an hour sideways and the power steering fail, that's not fun.
No.
You almost break your arms. And then we have the engine mounts. Everybody asks about the engine mounts, but they're basically just metal parts welded to the chassis.
Yeah, let's see if I can find a good, maybe from here.
Very, very dirty, but that was happen when you have hole in your engine. They're basically
Can you
just
point on it there? So
this is the stock, what do you call it, the beam,
stock
or
beam,
or the chassis. This whole part is the engine mount. They're actually bolted on top also, just to make it even stronger, but that's not needed. And then you have actually real hockey pucks.
Let's see if you can move the yeah, that's better.
Yeah, there you can see it. Actually,
take it down a little bit. So thank you.
Go. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
Just regular hockey puck made of rubber, and then through bolt. And it's actually half of the hockey puck is machined down, so it fits in a big hole here. So it centers the engine, and then it's just a bolt with a lock nut on it.
But it is an actual hockey puck.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. It's FIFA approved.
FIFA approved.
It's said on it.
Perfect.
Also from the race shop. The same on this side.
Yeah, here we see the engine mount a little bit better.
Yeah, you can see it here, much better. Just big beefy steel and then strengthening here and strengthening here. Mm. Those were actually made to fit an M60 BMW engine.
Okay.
But for some reason it fit perfectly with this engine also.
Yeah. So I got some questions on how to fit the engine, and I've made a whole separate video about that, but I don't know if you have the engine hoist here, the one that we use when we...
Yeah, the red one, yeah.
See, I can just...
use that one, but...
A similar one.
Yeah, we just hold it in place basically.
Yeah, so we use one of these and hold it in place where we want it.
Yeah, the easiest thing is to make the gearbox mount first. You put the engine where you want it, this lengthwise.
Yep.
And then you mount the gearbox as high up as you can to try and to actually hit the diff. You don't want it hit perfectly, doesn't matter, but approximately. And then you make the rear mount, and then you just have to make the engine straight. And when you have it straight, like on the stands or on the jack, you just weld it.
Yep.
That's the easiest part. I don't know why people think that's the hardest part.
No.
Very many people think it's hard to make engine swaps because of the engine mounts, but that's just welding.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest part.
Yeah, it is. All the piping and all the plumbing and all the other stuff, and to make the steering fit. On this car, it's not an easy swap because the steering is everything is rebuilt. But if you take one of these engines and put it in a Volvo, it basically fits.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're a bit afraid that the engine mounts won't hold, I mean, the steel is usually it's
very, very strong. And this is mild steel, so it will never break. It will just bend.
Yeah.
And if it bends, you have to make it stronger. But this is very soft, mild steel, so it's very, very strong. I think they will even. They actually have. I was about to say that they will survive a crash, and they have. The thing that broke was the aluminum mount when I crashed it on Mantorp. Yeah, on that side it actually broke. But the bolts stayed in place, and I think even this shim is the same, or the spacer. And here we can see more of the catastrophic failure actually.
Yeah, still finding some loose parts.
Yeah, this is from the inside of the oil pan. And here you can see this is an external con rod.
Yeah. special for this one.
I think
this model.
I think this is even part of the bearing still.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I think the bolts actually broke on this one because I've never seen a big end of a rod stick out before.
No.
That's strange. It actually did one hesitation on the track. I could felt it misfired a few times. So I was like, that's weird. Oh well,
Well,
just send it.
yeah,
And
see
then
what
it
happens.
dies.
Yeah. So, and it's the same. I'm backing out a bit here. It's the same body
Yeah,
kit here.
yeah. I think it was on Lithuania or Poland. I don't remember. But it's a Mercedes AMG style body pack.
But the fender wideners are not a part of the kit, right?
No.
That's homemade.
Yeah.
Homemade
These-
in metal.
Yeah, these are just, I think they are 3mm steel, just, it's not even rolled, it's just bent to make it fit. To make I think the track width of the car is 12mm wider. So it's 8 centimeters per side wider than an E36, plus the spacers.
Plus the spacers.
Yeah, plus the ET on the rims. So it's almost 2 meters wide. I think it's 198 wide or something. It doesn't fit on regular trailers.
No?
Nope.
No. It looks like a bulldog.
Yeah.
So let's move to the back here. So here we see the cooler a little bit better.
Yeah. So it basically just comes. This pump sucks. I think it sucks water in this line from the water intercooler in front, and pumps it in to this cooling unit, and then the fan cools it down as good as it can.
And I also see this one here. This is by choice, right?
Yes.
To get some more airflow
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So just to facilitate more airflow.
Yeah.
For the fan underneath. And then we have the rear fenders. Everybody asked what those are. Those are actually custom-made steel, welded, very, very, very strong. So if you smash a tire, like you do on drifting,
Yep.
if you're cheapskate like me, you have to use all the tire you can. So when the tire goes bald and it goes kaboom, it doesn't take the whole fender with it. So if you have plastic rear fenders, they just go.
Good idea. I can jump in here.
Yeah.
So no back seat, of course.
Nope. Just polyurethane bed liner, because then you can take the power wash and just wash it out.
Yeah, I remember they sold these for like the pickup truck
Yeah.
beds,
Yeah.
right?
It's called Raptor bed liner, and you spray it with a body spray gun. And it covers basically everything, and it's very abrasive resistant. It's not very nice, but yeah,
It does the job.
It keeps the sound a little bit down also, because it makes it's much thicker than regular paint.
Yeah, so it takes down the vibrations a
Yeah,
bit.
it's actually it's a plastic paint.
Okay, so I'll try to jump in here and we can take a look at the cockpit.
In here it's just main power, and then just power on to wake up the max ECU and the CAN dash, and then everything is controlled from the CAN dash or the CAN keyboard or whatever you call it. So we power on, lighting, engine start. I think it's broken now. It did actually work. Do you think it starts?
No, I don't think so.
It's dead. And then we have intercooler fans in the back.
Yep.
And then we have fans in the front, automatic, and I think now it's forced. So they have two modes. We have first boost, then we have big boost,
Big boost for big boys.
and that's base boost. And I think I have launch control, but that doesn't work until you push the clutch down. And then you have launch,
Yep.
and then it disengages launch.
So, and then it's only the engine bay left then.
Yes.
So first of all, what kind of engine is it? I see that it's a big V8 at least.
Yes. The platform is M119 Mercedes, and it's from the 90s. I think it came out 89, maybe. This particular one is a 94, 4.2, and they came in 5.0 and also a 6.0 AMG, very, very rare. But I used to have a 5.0 AMG version of it. That one had open deck design, so that block actually busted. But one of the first videos on YouTube is with that engine.
Yeah.
The nice burnouts.
But that couldn't handle the boost.
No, but it was actually cracked when we test drove it. That's why it misfired, and but it was extremely strong.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
It was.
I think that one gave 1,000 Newton meters on the wheels and 650 at 5,000 RPM because we had trigger issues.
Yeah.
Later, I think it made almost 800 with a stock 5 liter with the AMG cams.
But this 4.2 liter makes how much horsepower?
700.
700 horsepower.
Wheel horsepower.
Yeah.
And this one is stock closed deck 4.2 from 94 with AMG cams and AMG valve springs because they have very, very weak valve springs. Even the AMG one was weak.
Yeah, I remember that.
A few pounds stronger. So with the stock valves, it wouldn't rev more than 6,000 or 6 or 2, and then it started to misfire. Now I run it on 7, but then the piston came out. Most of the parts in front are changed because since I had overheating issues, I don't use the stock water pump anymore.
No?
I tried it with the stock pump, didn't work. Tried with a bigger intercooler, water cooler, didn't work. Tried with a bigger fan. This is actually a Volvo fan, one of the biggest or strongest one you can find. Not the strongest, but this usually handles a lot of more horsepower than this. 1,000 horsepower on a 2JC, no problem. So then I went to electronic water pump.
Just to go back, where is that fan if somebody wants to find a similar fan?
Basically all 90s Volvos.
Okay.
940s with electric fan, 960, 850, V70. I think this one is V70. And I don't remember, I think this is a BMW E46 M3 aftermarket radiator. This is a big one. It should be enough, more than enough. And then the thermostat is removed and the bypass is blocked, so that's not the issue. So the water circulates through the engine and straight into the radiator. So it's full flow, and I can actually vary the flow on the pump. Doesn't matter, still overheats.
Okay.
And these things here are just to help with the bleeding, the air bleeding, to get the air out. So I just put water in here, put the pump on the button. The pump turns on and it switches the engine and it bleeds it in 30 seconds.
It bleeds itself.
Yep,
perfect.
Very, very easy. And this is just crank ventilation. And then we have this ugly piece of shit. This is a very cheap Chinese water to air intercooler. So the air goes in here, heats up the core, water goes in here, comes out hot here, and then the cold air comes here. And then you measure the temperature here. Works very well, and actually got a little bit better boost response with this setup instead of before I had a huge long pipes and front mounted intercooler.
Okay, so it's because it's less air between the turbo and the engine.
Yeah,
right.
Very much smaller volume.
Yeah.
So the response, the boost spool up didn't come earlier in the revs, but when you are in boost range, like of 5,000 RPM, and you smash it, the boost is almost instant. So very, very quick, even with the big turbo.
Yes. What kind of turbo is it?
Yes, speaking of the turbo, it's Borg Warner S369 SE. When I bought this, that was the biggest 300. After that, I think they made a 72 millimeter. This is 69 millimeter. Some say it's small, but it will easily do 1100 horsepower.
Okay, so that's not the power plug or
no. Nope.
I don't know what you call it in English, but
the flaskhals.
Yeah, the flaskhals.
The bottleneck.
The bottleneck, yes.
Yeah. No, that's not the bottleneck. I think the internals of the engine is the bottleneck, because it should handle 2 bars easily on this setup. 2 bars on this, it would be 1000 horsepower easy. And then it's a custom exhaust housing, because Borg Warner, the biggest they make is 1.0 AR. This is 1.25 because of the 5-liter engine I had in the beginning. So this is a bit big for 4.2, but for the new 5.5, this will be very nice.
Yeah, you plan to keep the turbo?
Yeah, I think so. I plan and I hope that the manifolds also will fit, because they're very nice if you film it on that way. So this is basically this is the right bank. No, this is the left bank, your bank, and this is my bank. So this pipe actually comes up here, goes all the way across over the gearbox and then back here to make the pipes the same length. And they are actually the same area as the compressor housing. So it's a very smooth transition.
Yeah.
That's why I can have such a small wastegate. It's just a 38, tiny wastegate. And it's actually split poles all the way up in the wastegate. So not until the wastegate is open, it's separated, the pulses.
Okay.
And then you can see that here is also a lot of things cut open, because these cars used to have what you call the aquarium. The battery and all the electronics is basically here on a stock Mercedes. And then you have a metal wall here. Everything in that is cut out.
So let's say that you was about to do something similar today. Would you do it the same way, or is it something that you used to curse about that you didn't do in another way?
I used to mess around with the stock Mercedes steering. Don't even bother. That's the best part. I cut it out. But if I would do it again, I would move these strut points a lot more forward.
Okay, for the angles or for adjustments?
Yes, because this has a lot of caster angle, and it made it even worse with the BMW knuckles or spindles. So the tire is, if you can see, the caster angle is, I think it's almost 10 degrees or even more. Now it's straightened up as much as it can, but it still very much wants to turn the steering wheel back on itself, like self-straightening. Yeah. And the Mercedes are built like this, but to make it more driftable, I would like to have the strut even more further. Okay. That would be much better. I might do that, I don't know.
Maybe in the next version. But maybe we should take a look at the new engine also.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? So this might be the last time that you see this engine in the car. And next time we might have this engine in it instead.
So this is...
Still a Mercedes engine, right?
Yes, of course. This is a M273. It's based on the M272, the V6. This is the V8 model. This came in 4.5, I think, or 4.7 maybe, and 5.5. This is 5.5, 390 horsepower, 530 Newton meters of torque, stock. So this is actually stronger than the AMG 5 points.
The one that you had first time in the car.
This is probably 15% stronger than that, or even more.
And this will hopefully be mounted this winter, so maybe we can see it alive in the 190 this spring.
Probably late summer.
Probably late summer, yeah, maybe. You also have your own company, so... Yeah, so I think that we have gone through all the questions that was in the comments, and I think that we have covered pretty much everything else also. Okay, that's all for now. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.